Little bump right there from Luke Baldwin. Baldwin pushes Hirschman up the racetrack. Luke Baldwin is the king of the modified. And it comes here at South Boston Speedway.
Hear ye, hear ye. A decree from the Commonwealth state to all nations.
Sooner or later, they all bow to the king.
Let's go, baby!
It's the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to crown a king, and it'll come today here at South Boston Speedway in the Pace-O-Matic King of the Modifieds, powered by Dominion Energy. More than 30 cars on hand in front of a packed house on a beautiful day in Southern Virginia. This place, a mecca of motorsports in the South and one of the finest short tracks in America. Yes, they call it the land of the bologna burger, but South Boston Speedway treats everybody that comes out here to some electrifying racing. I'm Bob Dillner, the voice of the Smart Modified Tour. Alongside of me, I'm honored, blessed to have my brother, a modified aficionado for so many years, Matthew Dillner. The fans are ready. Are you?
If I was not ready, that would be the biggest lie in mankind. This is an event that's built for modified people. And today, if you're a modified person, you're here, or you're watching live on FloRacing, you are excited. The hairs on the arms are sticking up, and it's not even close to green flag yet. We're still just roll the cars out for intros, and you can feel that tension in the air.
Qualifying for this race came yesterday, a two-day race this year here at South Boston Speedway. Beautiful facility, and it's packed with cars, with race cars as well, and fans all over this racetrack. Let's take a look at the qualifying highlights. Sammy Ramo in that 06, the Massachusetts driver, timing in 5th quick yesterday, a winner at Motor Mile Speedway in Virginia on the Smart Tour a couple of seasons ago. He should be tough here today. Just in front of him in qualifying, the defending race winner, the 7V8 Pace-O-Matic machine for Sadler Stanley Racing, Luke Baldwin, hoping to be crowned a king. He lost the cloak and the crown a little while ago. Bryce Bailey from upstate New York in the Shady Grady Racing ride. He has been very fast in qualifying. Can he keep it up here during the race? That's the big question for Bailey. This guy, gonna be a favorite today. Two-time NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion Ron Silk is always strong, and he was strong again in qualifying, but not as strong as this man right here. Now 12-time pole winner in Smart Modified Tour history out of Northampton, Pennsylvania. Big money, Matt Hirschman gets the Fast Time Award in qualifying, and by virtue of a redraw, will start on the outside of the front row for this 125-lap race here today. We still have a class photo to come here for all the drivers in attendance. Luke Baldwin, by the way, redrew the pole. He will be the guy to lead the field to the green flag, and it's been a big month. Let's call it March Madness for Luke Baldwin. Not only did he win a couple of weeks ago at Anderson Speedway in South Carolina, he's trying to go for 2 in a row in the King of the Modifieds, and next week he's running a NASCAR truck at Martinsville Speedway just down the road from this racetrack.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You're looking at the class photo is just about to start, by the way. Sorry about that, but the class photo is being taken right now for the second class. The inaugural event last year, the King of the Modifieds, was something else, but this year, the second annual class photo for what is now becoming a crown jewel in modified stock car racing, and doing so, Bob, in front of the Flying 11 and the 61 of Richie Evans. My gosh.
Yeah, that's beautiful right there. The king of modifieds, Richie Evans, 9-time NASCAR National Modified Champion. I believe that's a Pinto from like the 1978 era for Richie Evans before he went to the more rectangular numbers on the side of his race car. But the Rapid Roman, definitely synonymous with modified racing, but so is the Flying 11 as well. Ray Hendrick, especially here in the South.
Oh, man, if somebody knew how to get around here, it was Ray Hendrick, the king basically of Southern Modifieds and the king here at South Boston Speedway. And, I know the the Hendrick family is watching, as well as Linda and Lynn and Tara and Richie Jr. and Billy Nasowitz with the 61 camp. So much respect in this pit area for everybody who's come before us, and we put that respect on display today in an active way because, it's about the past, the present, and the future.
And Pace-O-Matic does so much for the Smart Modified Tour. We want to give a shout-out to Mike Pace. He's under the weather, could not be with us here today. We miss Mike here at this racetrack at this very special Crown Jewel event. Also, a happy birthday to Mike's right-hand man, Alan Joseph. 60th birthday, 60 years young, so happy birthday to him as well.
Look at this fine field of modifieds we have assembled here. As the drivers now go back to their cars, they will stand at the left front wheel of their race car. They will be introduced to this great crowd on a sunny day in South Boston, Virginia, packed in this arena of speed all the way around here, all the way around the turns where there's tier parking, there's camping, there's tailgating. This place is absolutely packed, and the atmosphere right now is off the chain, buddy.
I love this shot right here from the CitraSafe Grill Cleaners Carolina Drilling drone coverage on FloRacing. You see those modifieds? There's no better looking race car in America than a Mighty Modify. The 600 horsepower underneath the hood, those 15-inch tires, those Nerf bars, the chrome horns on the front of these machines. They get down and dirty in so many racetracks across America, from way up in the Northeast to right here down south. There is Daniel Yates in the number 18 car. A little hug right there prior to the green flag here today.
Yeah, Daniel Yates, one of the good guys. He's a paver by day. He paves roads. He actually paved the road that I live on. I saw him the day he was paving, and he's like, "Diller, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "I live here." So a lot of these guys are working class heroes that on Saturdays and Sundays they're heroes of a different kind.
And you see the crowd up against the fence trying to get some shots of their favorite race car drivers. By the way, that yellow and black machine right there, Jonathan Cash, a lot of experience here, a couple top 5 runs in smart mods, but success in the late model stock car world as well. Jonathan Cash could certainly be a threat here on a long race. This is traditionally, usually, for the Smart Modified Tour, it's a 99-lap race. But different today, 125 grueling laps as the sun begins to set here at South Boston Speedway.
Yeah, and you remember, it's not a tire wear racetrack. So this is if you're a northerner tuning in, this reminds me of some of the northern racetracks we grew up in. This place is grippy. This place is fast, and it is edgy. These race car drivers are going to be driving around here at fantastic speeds, and it's a really edgy style of racing.
We'll take a look at the point standings after 2 races coming into this race. Jake Crum in the 99 for Jamie Tomeno on top of the board by a single mark over Luke Baldwin. Jake Crum, by the way, the only driver with 2 top 5 finishes in the first 2 races of the year. Big surprises, though. Look at 3 rookies in the top 5. 16-year-old Slate Myers, and then a pair of 14-year-olds, Paulie Hartwig III and Carter McMurray. I still cannot believe that Paulie Hartwig is in 8th grade.
I can't believe it. And even the cooler thing is 5 of the drivers in the top 10 in points are teenagers. You don't see that in modified racing historically, but right now there is a youth movement going on right in the Smart Modified Tour.
And I believe it's time to meet the drivers in the starting field for the second running of the Pace-O-Matic King of the Modifieds, powered by Dominion Energy here at South Boston Speedway. We'll go from the rear to the front here today to meet all the superstars of the Smart field. So without further ado, starting 32nd in the lineup here today, he was a top 10 finisher last year in this race. In the number 22, it's Jason Tutterow. That driver right there, the number 18, Daniel Yates, 9th in points coming into this one. He will start 31st as they shoot some T-shirts into the grandstands here today. Starting 30th, one of the invaders here, a former Race of Champions Modified Series champion. There is Jason Tutterow right there, shooting the T-shirt into the grandstands. Tutterow, an independent runner, owns Carolina Drilling, and there goes the T-shirt into the tailgating section here in turn number 4 for Tutterow. As we were mentioning, starting 30th in the lineup here today, a former Race of Champions Modified Series champion. He hails from Oswego, New York for the 20H of Tony Hanbury. Some lucky fan gets that t-shirt right now. We continue to move through the list. Starting 29th, this guy is awfully fast up in the state of New Jersey. A Garden State Classic champion from 1 year ago. In the 33, it's Karsten DiGion Tommaso. He was not happy with his slingshot maneuver right there. Starting 28th, we mentioned this kid just a little while ago. He's good on both the dirt and the pavement. Another New Jersey speedster for the 73 of 14-year-old Paulie Hartwig III. Starting 27th here today, Paulie shooting one into the grandstands right now. And that's Paulie Hartwig. Gonna get one for one lucky fan here today. It's all about the fans. That one hits the wall. Not good whatsoever. Starting 27th here today, a former Ace Speedway Modified Track Champion, independent runner out of North Carolina. It's Gary Young Jr. Starting 26th, we call him the Connecticut Kid, a two-time winner in SK Modified competition from Stafford Motor Speedway. He's in the 12 for Paul French. It's Anthony Bello. Next up, starting 25th, a second-generation modified racer, a 13-time winner in the Modified Racing Series out of Connecticut. It's Chris Pastriak. In row number 12 on the outside, this kid, 14 years old, comes out of the legend car ranks. His dad is Daytona 500 winner Jamie McMurray. In the Bass Pro Shops number 40, it's Carter McMurray. He's pretty good at that slingshot, I must say. Starting 23rd, 10th in Race of Champions Modified Series points from 1 year ago. Good-looking ride in the number 51. He hails from Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, for Jaden Harmon. Not a good qualifying effort for this next guy, but he could be a threat for the victory. A two-time winner in Smart Modified Tour competition and a former winner of the NASCAR Truck Series from Miami Springs, Florida. It's the 02 Gray Ghost for Joey Coulter. Starting on the inside of this row, he led laps at Anderson, South Carolina a couple of weeks ago. In the ABES forklift, number 48, also out of Florida, for Johnny Kievman. A fan favorite will mark this next row on the outside. He'll start 20th. A win here at South Boston Speedway last October was his first for the ace, Burt Myers. The 19th spot, two times a top 10 finisher here. Top 10 in last year's race. Out of North Carolina, Reedy Creek is the town for the 21 of Jimmy Wallace. Starting on the outside of row number 9, starting 18th, second at South Boston Speedway a couple of years ago. In the number 5 machine, a family-run team out of North Carolina, made in North Carolina, it's Tommy Buzzy. Lining up 17th in tonight's starting field. A two-time winner here at South Boston Speedway, both in tour-type modifieds and back in the Pro Cup days. This driver, a former NASCAR modified champion from Bowman Gray Stadium out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Brandon Ward. Starting 16th here today, late model stock cars. They're big here in South Boston. They're also big at Hickory Motor Speedway in North Carolina. A former late model stock car champion in the Shamrock Motorsports number 98 for Landon Huffman. Another late model stock car star in that row. Starting side by side, a former winner of the Valley Star Credit Union 300 at Martinsville, the 99 of Jake Crum. Starting 14th. 3 wins in late model stock car competition at South Boston Speedway for this driver. He's currently in the top 10 in smart points. It's J-Cash, Jonathan Cash. To his inside, starting lucky number 13. He's a former Daytona 500 winner, former Brickyard 400 winner. In the Shitty Coolers number 2, it's Rocket Man Ryan Newman. 12th here today, another teenager, just 16 years old. A fourth-generation Myers family racer. The number 4 for Slate Myers. Myers third in points coming into this one here at South Boston today. Let's see what the kid with the flow in the back has for the t-shirts up in the grandstands for the fans here today. We'll go to the next one, starting 11th here today. Another one of the Racing Electronics Rookie of the Year competitors. A 17-time Legends winner at Riverhead Raceway in Long Island, New York, driving the Hillbilly Motorsports number 79 for Joey Braun. And now let's meet your top 10 drivers in the King of the Modifieds lineup. This next driver out of Brick, New Jersey, a 2-time winner at Wall Stadium in 2024, the number 20 for 33-year-old Eddie McCarthy. Next up, starting 9th, this kid pretty quick as well. 17-time winner in SK Modified competition at Stafford Motor Speedway. One of those Connecticut drivers in the field here today. And the one New York, it's Steven Kopchik.
Go on, Matt.
He's got a good arm.
I like it.
Got a good arm. I like it. Starting 8th here today. Big win for this guy here last week at Caraway Speedway in an open modified show. He's from the Sunshine State of Florida in the 55. Welcome back, Jeremy Kirshner. Starting 7th out of Lexington, North Carolina. 5 times a winner at Smart Modified Tour competition last year. Can he get it done and become a king today? It's Carson Lofton. Starting on the outside of row number 3, a 2-time NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion. 26 wins to his credit out of Norwalk, Connecticut. It's the 16 of Silky Ronnie Silk. Starting 5th here today, one of the young guns in the field. One of the famous Baldwin family members. A 7-time Crate Modified winner. The 7NY for Jack Baldwin. Nice arm. He's rooting for St. John's today here in March Madness. A winner at Motor Mile Speedway a couple of seasons ago with a Smart Modified Tour. He's out of the great state of Massachusetts. In the 06, it's Sammy Ramo. Another Rookie of the Year competitor will line up on the inside of row number 2. He'll start 3rd today in one of the most famous rides in Southern Modified Racing, the 15 of Shady Grady Racing. Out of Waverly, New York, it's Bryce Bailey. More than 150 wins over the last few decades for this next driver. Out of Northampton, Pennsylvania, they say he's the new king of modifieds all over this country. Out of Northampton, Pennsylvania, it's big money, Matt Hirschman. Let's see if he's got an arm. Come on, Matty, throw it up there.
Oh, not bad.
And leading the field to the green flag here today, the king from 1 year ago, the defending series champion of the Smart Modified Tour. The apple didn't fall far from the tree. His granddad was great. His dad was great as a wrench in modifieds in the Cup Series. It's Luke Baldwin. And that is your starting field of 32 of the best modified racers in America right here today at South Boston Speedway.
Wow, Bob, the energy, something else as the drivers are now getting loaded into these 600 horsepower rocket ships. Luke Baldwin had to give up his crown, actually physically give it up. Chris Williams, the series president, took it off his head in pre-race ceremonies, and now he's going to try to get the crown back. On the outside is a driver that's as hungry as ever. He's a veteran now. He's won everything in modified racing But this, he said yesterday, is the crown that he really wants.
Yeah, Matt Hirschman has won the Race of Champions.
Yes.
He's won the Spring Sizzler. He's won a ton of shows. Can he win here today? He's done it before in Smart Modified Tour competition just a few seasons ago, but at the same time, that's not the king of the modifieds. That's not when you know you're going to be crowned a king with that crown afterwards, the winner's cloak, and the reader's declaration of being a king of modified racing in Pace-O-Matic Victory Lane here today. That's all on the line for Matt Hirschman and the rest of the 31 competitors.
And don't sleep on that second row, too. You know, Sammy Ramo is somebody that I've been keeping my eye on, Bob, because he's a very aggressive race car driver, and he's honestly got one of the most beautiful race cars in the field with that 06 car pinstriped so beautifully. He's a very aggressive race car driver, and but he's very young. He showed that aggression a little bit at North Wilkesboro at the end of the season. Ran really well with us at North Wilkesboro. I think he's one of my guys to watch here today for the King of the Modifieds.
There's a bunch of guys to watch, honestly, and some of them coming from a little bit further back in the field. I'm going to go to the 99, that Jamie and Cheryl Tomeno owned machine. Jamie, a former NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion. But Jake Crum, late model stock car kid turned modified guy in the South right now. Jake Crum has been red hot. He's led some laps already this year. He's the point leader coming into this race, the only driver with 2 top 5 finishes. And guess what? He's pretty good here, not in that 99 car in the past year, but in a 12 machine for Paul French. He almost won the race here last year, be it a mishap with Matt Hirschman, and then he finished very well here in the October race when Burt Myers went to victory lane. So we're expecting Jake Crum to come through the field. He's mired back a little bit, 15th in this starting lineup here, but I expect Jake Crum to be a threat here today.
I'll tell you what, Jake Crum being the points leader, he was embroiled in a little bit of controversy last week with contact with Jack Baldwin's number 7. But the ironic thing is, if you're a race fan and you watch the Cup Series, and back in the day, yeah, there is Jake Crum's car in the 98. If Landon Huffman on his outside, you'd have Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt get into it, right? The next week, they'd be next to each other in driver intros. Side by side is 2 late model stock rivals right there with Landon Huffman on the outside of Jake Crum.
Listen, if Jake Crum is thinking about things, he's going to be afraid of white race cars, because not only might he be afraid of Landon Huffman, but the guy technically that he made contact with and put him in the fence at Anderson a couple of weeks ago, and that's Jack Baldwin in the 7NY. So that's something that's going to be interesting to watch. I'd be having flashbacks anytime Jake Crum got around a white race car here today, and there you see the white race car, the 7NY of Jack Baldwin, another teenager in the starting lineup, and a student at App State University in Boone, North Carolina. We're going to have Dr. Rob Wynn from VCU, the Massey Cancer Center. He's going to give the command here today just momentarily to fire these 600 horsepower modifieds. And the fans awaiting that here today. We're getting the word that all the drivers, all the officials are making sure everybody is strapped in, buckled up, ready for battle here today in the King of the Modifieds.
Yeah, beautiful field of modifieds assembled here today. This crowd here at South Boston Speedway is absolutely special. Talking to a bunch of people down in the Midway before, looking at the Ted Harefield modified, part of the 4-H boys that dominated Virginia modified racing. And some of these fans here are really modified people. Even the people that are in Virginia, they tell me, hey, they go to Bowman Gray. They come here weekly sometimes to South Boston. This is quite a crowd.
Now it's time to get things kick-started here today. We go trackside to Derek Pernasiglio.
That is right. It's time to get things started, and I have a very special guest joining me on the front straightaway. We have Dr. Rob Wynn from Massey Comprehensive Cancer Center, and you have a very important job. You have got to get these cars started, so let's give us the command.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
How about that, ladies and gentlemen? A nice, energetic command from Dr. Rob Wynn. Bob, Matt, we are ready to light this candle.
Looking forward to this one here today for 125 laps. And just want to clarify a couple of things. As we said, an extra distance race for the Smart Modified Tour. Usually we see the end of Bell Helmet stage number 1 at lap 30. That'll still occur. They'll throw the Bell Helmet's checkered flag, but they won't stop the race cars.
Points and money.
Points and money for at the end of lap 30. We will have a break for a fuel window in between laps 60 and 75. They want to make sure all of these drivers, all these machines can go the entire distance here today. So that is the only scheduled stop. David Hoots will make the call in terms of when that's going to happen in between laps 60 and 75 today.
It's for you people maybe watching that aren't asphalt modified people, I'd look at it almost like an open red. They're going to pull the cars on pit road, pull them outside their pit stalls, and you'll have 2 crew members that could go out there and fuel those cars. Then when they return to the racing surface, they'll have the freedom, if they wanted to come back in. But now, the modifieds start rolling here at South Boston Speedway. Oh boy, it's time for the King of the Modifieds.
And this is a beautiful shot right here. I remember even back in the day when we would do this, with the old Speed
Goosebumps.
51. Absolutely. Love standing between all this horsepower. As they go by you, your skin would just shake. You'd get goosebumps on you. And if you're in the grandstands here today, you're going to have that feeling as well. If you're watching live on FloRacing, you got to come out to this race next year. By virtue of all the fans that we see here on the front stretch and all the way around this 0.4 of a mile racetrack, I believe the Smart Modified Tour will be back here to South Boston next year with the King of the Modifieds.
This has become the mecca of the modified, in my opinion. And look at that right there. What a beautiful sight. If you are a fan of true modified racing, true kings right there. The number 61, the Rapid Roman, Richie Evans, a car on loan for us at this event by Ray Evernham. Oh, the 15 has stopped of Bryce Bailey. We'll have to check in on that. But Richie Evans, thankful for Ray Evernham letting us use that car. Andy Statt for helping us get it up here. And then on the right side, Ray Hendrick, one of the kings of South Boston Speedway.
Bryce Bailey has fired. A lot of times they'll stop on the backstretch,
straighten their wheel,
re-index their wheel. So I think that's what happened there. But this place is going to be so much fun here today for 125 laps, Derek.
Right now, they're getting ready to fire off and go racing. When I talked to a couple of the teams earlier today, they said, yeah, they have some strategies worked out in their head in case they have a bunch of cautions. They also have strategies in case that we get into long race runs. But after talking with a lot of these teams, they all said the same thing. We won't know what's going to happen until we get into the situation. So there's going to be a lot of playing it by ear, and there'll be a lot of strategy changing throughout the course of the race.
Oh, this is all going to be about strategy, when to roll the dice, when to charge hard. But look at those modifieds out in front of this field. Today we will crown a king at South Boston Speedway, but you have 2 kings leading the pace laps at South Boston Speedway. The cars, formerly driven by the Rapid Roman, Richie Evans, a 9-time NASCAR National Modified Champion on the inside, and the outside, one of the kings of Southern Modified Racing, the Flying 11, a car that used to be driven by Ray Hendrick. And Ray Hendrick, one of the greats, not only all over the country, but specifically here at South Boston.
True kings, as I like to say, to understand and really, understand their mark in modified racing, you really have to look at the record book. And you look at what those drivers did. They transcended borders in modified stock car racing. And what Ray Hendrick did was amazing. But Richie Evans coming down here to the South, as he did so much in the 70s, and really making the name of the greatest of all time, the GOAT.
Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to stand up, take out your phones, take some pictures. We need everyone in attendance to get up on your feet. The Smart Stars will come off of turn number 4 and salute you, the best racing fans in America. This is our salute to open wheels, to chrome horns, and 600 horsepower. The Ground Pounders, the Mod Squad. This is the Smart Modified Tour and the king of the modifieds. Listen to the rumble. They will roar to life here in just about 3 laps. getting the heat in the engines here today. This is what racing is all about. What we see at South Boston Speedway today for the King of the Modifieds. Tons of people in the grandstands, tons of people tailgating and in lawn chairs around this racetrack on a beautiful day in Southern Virginia. It just does not get any better than this, and the Smart Modified Tour is about to bring it to you.
If you're a fan of racing past, if you're a fan of racing present, this is going to make you a fan of racing future. This is it. This is a spectacle that modified racing deserves.
And in the flag stand here today, Chris Clemente of Comstock Holdings will wave the initial green flag in this race. So there you see our speed shot on FloRacing.
Oh, it's going to be fast.
On behalf of everybody with FloRacing, we are honored to be here today to present to you this race. The 61 and the 11 have pulled off. Still under caution here, getting ready to fire for the King of the Modifieds.
Right now, drivers are trying to get a little bit of heat in those Hoosier tires, some slow pace laps. The tensions are high. This lap, they'll pull their belts tight. I believe we're going to see one to go to the green this time by for this field of 30-plus modifieds at South Boston Speedway. Luke Baldwin, of course, leading the way, but you look further back through this field, a talented, stacked field of modifieds.
I think we're going to get one extra lap here to feel the vibe, right?
To
build the emotion.
We're in the press box, Bob, and you can feel the rumble in our chest up here. I can only imagine these thousands of people gathered here in South Boston sitting in the stands.
Here's what I'm going to say, too, to everybody watching right now at Flo.
Yes.
Watch, grab your phone, and get on social media. Tell people that you're watching the King of the Modifieds. This will be electric here today. Let's get more people to enjoy the form of racing that we love so much at one of the best racetracks in America, South Boston Speedway. This will be a race unlike any other. Coming to one to go before we go green. You got goosebumps on your arms, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's more than my arms, man. I'm feeling it in my legs, my toes, all the way up, man. It's amazing. And right now, I think the fans are feeling it too, because after that wave lap, the parade lap, none of them have sat down here at South Boston Speedway. The tension is high. Some of the greatest modified racers are assembled here today for one crown.
Two big names in modified racing on the front row, Baldwin and Hirschman. And this may be the land of the bologna burger, South Boston Speedway, but today it's all about crowning a king. So as they come off of turn number 4, we always say, the modifieds go by the grace of God at 600 horsepower. It's time to fire them with the King of the Modifieds at South Boston. Baldwin, Hirschman, side by side into turn number 3. Baldwin's going to get the advantage off of turn number 4. The defending champ leads lap number 1 here at South Boston.
Dicey moments for the rest of the field right now. Back in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, still side by side as the top 3 are single file at the start of this race.
The best battle on the racetrack is for 4th. Right here, Sammy Ramo on the outside. You see the 7NY of Jack Baldwin on the inside. Both hard-nosed racers. There's Tony Hanbury, the ROC champion from years ago, going to be pulling to the infield. He might be out of this race.
There goes the 06 of Ramo, charging hard on the outside of Jack Baldwin. The 06 car now move him into the 4th position.
Let's go back a little bit further. Steven Kopchik in that black and silver number 1 car, side by side behind him as well. Joey Braun, what a big run for him in the season opener. A 3rd place finish. Riding in one of the most coveted rides in Southern Modified Racing, the 79 of Hillbilly Motorsports. Behind that, you see the 20. Man, this guy has just really turned heads this weekend. Eddie McCarthy, Wall Stadium winner twice last year.
Eddie McCarthy is what I call a true character of this sport as well.
He is.
If you want to have fun, you go talk to Eddie McCarthy. And he actually really wants to be interviewed by Bob Dillner, by the way, a little secret, under one of these cautions.
There goes the kid, Carson Lofton, battling with Jack Baldwin. Lofton trying to move into the 5th spot now. Lofton, a runner-up finish a couple of years ago here in Smart Modified Tour competition. Part-time this year because he's running the Cars Tour with the late model stock car wall. Full fender this year for the kid.
Well, I'll tell you what, so far he's done pretty good in the full fender land. 3 full fender late model stock car races, all resulting in top 10s for that young race car driver. But now back to some familiarity, back to open wheels, back to his family-owned modified Dijon Tommaso slow on the inside of the racetrack.
Easy for you to say, right?
Easy for me to say.
Carsten Dijon Tommaso, even I had trouble with it, but that winner twice over at Wall Stadium last year as well.
He's going to make it to pit road. That's the good news. We'll stay green, Bob.
He's off the racetrack, still side by side here. Look at this. Ron Silk is there. By the way, black colors on this machine. Don't worry, NASCAR Wheel of Modified Tour fans. Still going to run the silver scheme on that tour. This is their open modified, which is a black race car.
And they will be running part-time, it appears, on that tour this year. They're telling me, hey, they're going to run as many as they can, but they're not committing to a full season anywhere. They want to chase races that they want to go to. And this was one that Phil Moran, their crew chief, told me they wanted to be at. Now, Lofton to the outside of Jack Baldwin, coming off of turn number 4.
How about that? He goes from inside to outside on Jack Baldwin. We told you earlier in this broadcast, you can run Hirschman, Burt Myers, they'll tell you it's about 2.5 grooves, but it's really almost 3 grooves around this racetrack, especially as we get later in the line. Contact, Baldwin and Silk, a little rubbing down there in the corner.
Little bit of a hairy moment for Jack Baldwin of that white number 7. He's got a rear view mirror full of Steven Kopchick right behind him in the number 1. But now the battle ensues in front of him. Lofton up high, now goes down low underneath the 06. Is there real estate? No, there isn't. Coming off of turn number 2.
A battle of red race cars right there. Sammy Ramo in the 06 ahead of the 23 of Carson Lofton. Kopchick right there in the black and silver and orange machine. Kopchick, 2 starts on the Smart Modified Tour, had a good run at Motor Mile Speedway a couple of seasons ago, and Silk starting to make his move. Silk holding up right now. Carson Lofton is Sammy Ramo and Ron Silk. Gotta wonder if Ramo's gonna let him by at this stage of the game.
And you saw a few little times that the 23 gave him a little pressure and bumped the back bumper of 06 of Sammy Ramo right there. Still can't get around him, and Silk is all over the number 23. Looking high, looking low is Lofton. Now he ducks down low coming out of turn number 2. Can he get it, Bob? Sammy Ramo sure is tough to pass.
17 laps into this one right now. Ramo, a little wiggle coming up off the corner. Lofton being very patient for a teenager behind him right now. And so is Silk. I mean, Silk is a veteran. He's won all over the place. Ron Silk, 26 wins on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Could he get his first start with the Smart Series here today?
You know, looking at the 06 and the 23, if I remember back to North Wilkesboro Speedway, there was a little contact between these race car drivers at the North Wilkesboro finale. So I know Lofton is working on him there, but there's been a little bit of bumper tag that has happened. But Silk right now is going, which way do I go? High, low? He's kind of in one of those positions.
No. We got a big one coming off of turn number 2. We put our camera up there, and I believe you have about almost 8 cars involved in that one. Joey Coulter, one of the championship contenders, up against the outside wall in the Gray Ghost 02. Another championship contender and Rookie of the Year contender, Paulie Hartwig, the 3rd down there, plus another rookie contender in that Bass Pro Shops number 40. That's Carter McMurray, and then Jonathan Cash. He's the car on the outside of the 55, that yellow and black machine for Sadler Stanley Racing. Jeremy Gerstner in the 55 is there, and I believe that's Anthony Bello in the Paul French-owned number 12 car. So 7 cars in all involved in a melee coming off of turn number 2, and that's sometimes at South Boston Speedway. Things narrow coming off the corners because of that inside and outside wall on both straightaways.
This is a very tight racetrack, Bob. Very fast, very tight. You see some possible damage there on the right side of the Paulie Hartwig, the 3rd ride. Those cars now hitting pit road to get serviced. Let's look at the FloRacing replay, Bob, and see what happened.
And this is a little bit further back in the field, the guys that didn't qualify that well. And there you see, it looks like the 55 of Gerstner spun, and a lot of people had nowhere to go.
Yeah, the 55, it looked like he spun on his own looking at that. Hopefully we can see it again there, but, spun on his own, and there's not a lot of places you could go. Once you check up and somebody gets into the back of you, you're going to spin out, and then everybody else is going to stack up behind.
Taking the old sledgehammer out. The old-fashioned way to fix the front bumper. Here's a slow-mo of what happened. We want you to look for a black number 55 car coming into your frame right. It's right there coming off of turn number 2. He just got sideways up about a groove and a half, so maybe between the 2 grooves, and Gerstner just lost it.
Man, and Jonathan Cash made heavy contact to the left rear of Gerstner's car. Luckily, he didn't get him in the driver door there. And Carter McMurray stacked up as well as the French car driven by Bello, who's been moonlighting in some late model races. There is the number 55, and you can see some of the damage on the inside of that number 55.
What do you see down there, Derek?
Just a couple of reports while we're down here on pit road. Jeremy Gerstner is parked in his pit spot right now. The crew is assessing the damage on the number 55 car. They're going to go to work on it as soon as we go back to yellow flag conditions. We're checking out all the other cars that are sitting over in turn number 1 and 2. A lot of smoke coming out of the front ends, and asked one of the crew chiefs down there what's going on with all the smoke coming out of the front ends of the cars, and he simply said, a lot of guys out here are using a lot of brakes right now. Plus, we're also seeing some reports of drivers complaining that the track is free. There was a lot of speedy dry dust residue laid down on the track. The track temperatures are hotter, so we've got some cars skating around out there.
Thank you, Derek. Bello might be okay. That front bumper jacked up. Paulie Hartwig, that right rear, I don't know how much damage because the tire came off the rim, and that's why it maybe looked a little bit wobbly coming to pit road. So we'll sort all this out, and we'll come back to South Boston Speedway. We're early in the King of the Modifieds, just 20 laps complete in this 125-lap race.